A very warm welcome to today's expert webinar on integration services. I am Ankita from SpringPeople. We are India's largest enterprise training provider. I'll be your moderator for today's session. We have an exciting session ahead where we'll explore how integration services can transform the way you manage and streamline data across platforms. Guiding us through this session is none other than Ms. Aayushi Verma, a highly skilled AWS certified DevOps engineer and authorized instructor. With vast experience in AWS architecture, automation, and optimization, she has helped businesses across India, Singapore, and the UAE maximize their cloud potential. In this session, we'll explore how integration services simplify data management, streamline data migration and ETL processes, and enhance accessibility. Through real-world examples and practical strategies, you'll discover how automation can optimize workflows, boost efficiency, and transform operations. We promise this will be an insightful session packed with valuable takeaways. If you have any questions during the session, please drop them in the chat box and we will address them at the end. Now, without further delay, let's begin. Over to you, Aayushi Verma.
Thank you, guys, and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined the session. Because I've already talked about me, so let's get quickly started with the session. So today what we will be discussing is the AWS integration services. Now, when I say integration services, of course, there could be many multiple services that could be a part of it. But for today's agenda, we will be discussing about two major services, and those services are your SQS and SNS. So let's get started with those first. Okay, so in our agenda, we will be discussing two services. First is SNS and the second one is the SQS. SQS stands for Simple Queue Services, whereas your SNS stands for Simple Notification Services. Now, by the name itself, it might be very much clear to you that SQS belongs to a queue service, whereas if I have to send the notification, I need to reach out to SNS for that. Before we talk about anything, let's just try to understand what is serverless. So, when I say serverless, it doesn't mean that we don't have a server here. What we are trying to state when I say serverless is that we don't need to manage any servers. Let's say I wanted to run an application, but I'm not sure about it that how much CPU I need to consume for it. I'm also not sure about it that how much RAM or maybe how much memory is something that I need. When you're not sure about it, it's ideal for you to go for the serverless service. Now, when I say serverless, again, I meant the server is there. Of course, without a server, nothing is possible. It's just that I don't need to manage those services. I don't need to provision those services. Now, if I talk about SNS and SQS, both belongs to my serverless category. Are there more serverless categories do we have in this? Well, of course we do have. So what were those? Again, this is for the serverless, that there is no infrastructure to provision. Everything is taken care by your cloud provider. In our case, it's going to be an AWS. You just need to upload your application and that would be it for you. Your application based on your consumption will scale in and scale out accordingly. So it's all based on the consumption, and at the same time, the charges that they will charge you, it's also based on your consumption. So it more closer to your pay-as-you-go model. It simply states that you only have to pay for the things that you're consuming. Then comes built-in security, highly available compute. Again, this is something which is being handled by your cloud provider. So in this case, the security part is also taken care by your cloud provider. Same goes with your update, patching, and other stuffs. Now, this is the AWS serverless portfolio. Now, when I say this is my AWS serverless portfolio, I meant is that these are the services which comes under as a category of a serverless. Your Lambda, Fargate, API, S3, DynamoDB, RDS, Cognito, SQS, Step Function, cases, and there are more. This is not it. There are more services which comes under the category of a serverless service. In today's session, what we will be discussing is the two inter-process messaging services, which is your SNS and SQS. So now get started. Let's just get started for the SQS part. Let's try to understand SQS first. When I say SQS, SQS service is your buffer service. We call it as a buffer service. Now, where is the buffer? Why do I need to create a buffer? So to understand this, let's suppose that my application is running and there is a backend database which is available. There is a backend database which is there with me, which is responsible for writing the recent query that is being made. Okay. Now, there are people who are trying to write my queries directly to the database. There are different users who are trying to make an entry to my database directly to it. Now, I've got two options with it. First, that yes, you can directly reach out to it. Second, in between, you could have an additional service. Now, why do we need this additional service when we can directly read it? Let's try to understand at the time of a failover what would happen. Now, if I have a database, this database gets failed. Let's say for some seconds, this database is not available. It could be for XYZ reason. Let's not get into that. But let's suppose there is a failover that happens with my database and my database wasn't accessible for 15 seconds. Now, even the 50 seconds sounds too little, but at the same time, there could be thousands of queries that the user were trying to place it on the database. Now, what would happen with those 1,000 queries? Because my database wasn't active at that time. So when my database was not active at that time and the server was trying to reach out to the database and were trying to make an entry to the database, they were also not able to do so. Basically, it means that they were failing with their request. Now, this is the exact reason why we need a buffer service or a queue service. Now, what this queue service will do for me? Of course, there could be a servers. We could have servers who's trying to reach out to my database, but instead of directly writing the thing to my database, in between, I could have a server, which is the queue, SQS server. Again, SQS is your serverless service, which means all the tasks which is happening within the SQS is being taken care by AWS. All I need to do is I need to put the data inside it. Okay, so now what we are doing it, instead of directly storing the data to the database, I'm creating a queue and I'm storing my data inside the queue. Now, I have my data one by one inside this queue. Now, two things could happen in this case. There are two possibilities that could happen in this case. First, of course, even at the time of a failover, even when my database was not available, my user was still able to write their queries, not into the database, of course, but into the queue. And once my database is up, it's ready to access the data. It's ready to access the things that are there within my queue. First thing. So the database issue, yes, it could be resolved. Second, let's just go with another scenario. Let's say I have a server which needs to process a data. The data could come from various places. It could be used for the ETL task now. Now, this data that the server needs to process could come from various locations. Again, multiple servers and the people are trying to push the data. But my server is capable of processing single data at a time, or maybe the single object at a time. That's the capability of my server. Now, let's say when a server A made a request to my main server, it start processing it. Of course, it needs some time to process that data. Let's say it's need 50 milliseconds, or it could need some, let's say 1 second. Okay, it could vary, of course. Okay, it need that much time to process their data. What about the other servers? They are also trying to push our messages. They also want their request to be handled by the main server. In that case, what could I do? Even if I put 2 or 3 servers, the problem will persist. Even if I have more than one server, still this server also needs time. So let's say even if this query goes to this server, what about the third, fourth, fifth server? What will they do at the same time? So in such cases, what I could do is in between, I could have a queue service. Now, what this queue service will do? Every time a new server comes in with a request, that request will be stored within a queue. Once my server, the main server, is able to process that data, it is ready to access the new data. And from where the new data comes, now the new data will not come directly from the servers, because again, they are not ready to wait it. They're just trying to push the data into it. So now that request will come directly from the queue, which is your SQS. I hope so far it's kind of clear that why we need a queue and why we called queue a buffer service. It helps me to have a service to service communication. There could be hundreds of use cases for the SQS. These are some major services. These are some major use cases which I have seen in the actual world, and I've displayed the same here on the. Now, let's talk a little more about it. So when I say SQS, let me just minimize it. Just a minute, folks. Yeah. So now when I say SQS, SQS is again, it's a serverless, which means it's a fully managed managing queue services by AWS. So you don't need to worry about how many messages will come, how much capability does queue have, how the queue will respond to it, any failover, nothing. All this will be taken care by AWS. All you need to do is you need to push the message to the queue, and then you need to pull it out from the queue. That's your work. Then it stores the messages until they are processed and deleted. Of course, there is an exception. Like the maximum number of days your message could be there within the queue, it's like 14 days. Okay, not more than that. But again, for those many days, the messages would remain there in the queue until and unless a service comes in and pull the message out from it, which means your message will remain in the queue for a longer duration. It can goes up to days, and it will only get deleted or removed if a new service comes in who's going to pull the message out from the queue. So my server needs to reach out to the queue, needs to pull the message out from the queue. That's the only way of taking the message out. Otherwise, the message will retain in the queue. That's why we call SQS as a pull based service. Pull based as in someone needs to reach out to the server and pull the message out from it. Otherwise, server will not push any messages to you. And it acts as a buffer between your sender and the receiver. So that's what we have already seen in the previous case. Now, there are few things like loose coupling, types of queue, and for all this, let's just try it directly to go to our. So what I need to do is I need to search for a service. So in our case, it's SQS. So simple queue service, let's reach out to it. Now there are multiple queues that were already there in it. Let me just create a new queue for a better understanding. So when we go to the queue, I've got two options. First is standard, second is FIFO. So there are two types of a queue that we could create. What is the difference? It's well stated here. FIFO stands for first in, first out delivery. This FIFO ensures that your message will be processed in orderly manner, which means that if the first message gets proceed, then only we will move to the next message. So it's a strict order that needs to be followed. This comes under the FIFO technology, the FIFO queue method that we have in it. Second one is the standard, or we can call it as a first or the default one as well. This simply ensures that we need to deliver a message. This is our work. We don't care about the ordering process, because there could be multiple servers which is trying to access my queue. I don't care. All I wanted to ensure that the message should be delivered at least once. So the order is not preserved in it. We have seen that in the banking case. Sometimes when there is an electronic thing that every time you go to a bank, you have to put you have to get that letter from it. Like they will tell you their sequence, like you have to come at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. That is a strict one, FIFO. But if you're actually there in the queue, you can bypass few people by saying, hey, I'm old, can I just go ahead further? And they were like, yeah, please go ahead. That's standard for us. Okay, so you can create your type of queue, but once you are done with the process, you cannot change the type. Okay, and this is what also stated here. After you create a queue, it's not possible for you to change a type. So be wise while choosing it. Then comes the my name of it. So you could give any name. So I'm just going test 1, 2, 3. Then comes this configuration part, and this is quite important. Configuration, the very first thing that we have is a visibility timeout. Visibility timeout simply means let's just go back to my PPT. Let me. So I hope you all remember this when I was discussing it, that there could be multiple servers who is trying to access the data within the queue. These could be my server, the backend servers. This is my queue, which have data in it. And then there are multiple people, or it could be a user who's trying to push the message to the queue. Okay. Now, what would happen here? The message that is there, the first message that is there, it is visible for 30 seconds. Visibility timeout simply talks about that for the 30 seconds, if the server picks the message and is able to process it, then the other servers could see the other backend messages that we have. But after 30 seconds, if this is not able to process the data, after 30 seconds, that message is again visible for other servers so that those other servers could work on it. So visibility timeout simply talks about that how long I will not show my messages to other server, or what would be the timeout period, visibility timeout period for other servers not to get my message. So for that 30-second, I'm giving that 30-second time to the server so that this server could process it. And if it is unable to, then after 30 seconds, the same message is visible for the other server so that they could pick the request and work on it. That's a visibility timeout for me. Next come message retention period. This is exactly the same thing that I have discussed about the how long your message will retain in the queue. Now, if you could see, by default, it's 4 days, which means if no one pull the message out from the queue, the message will remain there for 4 days. And after 4 days, it automatically gets deleted. Okay, but you can customize it. Just click on it, seconds, minute, hours, days. It's up to you. It's up to your case. But the maximum number of days that you could keep a message, it's 4 days, not more than that. For 14 days, my bad. Okay. Then comes delivery delay. Delivery delay simply, again, it talks about that once the message is being processed, after how long you want your other message to be uh, visible or to be taken care by the let's say if your server wants that message, but you want to deliver that message, but after a 5 second, it's more like a cooling period that you wanted to provide. By default, we don't provide any cooling period. That's why it's 0 seconds. But if you want to provide any cooling period, you can go with the delivery delay. There is one, see, SQS is more a buffer service, which is there to, for a in-between communication. So you cannot expect to store big messages in it. But of course, you can store messages around 256 KB. That's a maximum size a single message could be of. Okay, so from 1 KB to 256 KB, that's the maximum size that your message could be large enough for you to store inside a queue. Then the last comes receive message wait time. Now, receive message wait time, it's all about two things. I mean, here we have two things in it, and that is loose coupling, or sorry, short polling and long polling. Now, the short polling, when I say short polling, simply talks about that when a server reach out to your queue, it will keep looking for your queue within 0 seconds, which will like instantly. It wanted to make sure that whenever a message appears, I'm gonna pull it out from. So that's a receive message wait time. So the moment the message comes in, it will not take any moment. It just keep coming. Your server keeps going back to your queue. It doesn't wait for it. That's a short polling, which is a default one, which is reflected by 0 second. But now if you increase it, and the maximum we can go is 20 seconds, which means that your server will wait for 20 seconds, then again go to your queue to see if a message is there or not. Come back, again wait for 20 minutes, go to your server, look for the message if it is there or not, and then this is known as long polling, which means you will pull the message after a little break or after a little time. But in the case of short polling, you will not wait for your message to just go and check. So within seconds, it will just keep coming to the queue and look for a message. Of course, with the short polling, the cost will be higher because your server keeps hitting your SQS server. With the long polling, that duration simply talks about that you need to wait a little while for it. Okay. Now, when we are storing the messages here, of course, encryption should be there because it comes under the best practices. So we could have a encryption enabled, and for that, there are multiple methods of using it. And then you can simply create a queue. Once the queue is ready with it, you can add third-party service, some third other services to push the messages inside the queue, and then you need a service to pull the message out from the queue. So for now, what I will be doing is I will simply send a message here. But before I send it, let me show you one more thing. If I just come back to the queue and you could see this is my queue. This is the recent queue which I've created, and as of now, there are 0 messages available. There isn't any message. But let me just try to push a message. So let's send a message. Message 1, send. Message 2, send. So what I did is I have sent 2 messages, but where are my messages? How would I know whether the message is there in the queue or not? So just come back to the dashboard again and just refresh it once, and then you will be able to see that there are 2 messages which is there within this queue, and these messages will remain in the queue until and unless you'll add another services which will pull the message out from it. Now, how to integrate another service, it's another long thing that comes with a different course, but yeah, this is the part of it. This is how the queue works for you. Now, this is all about my queue, how we can use the loose coupling, how we can, add some resources in it and to make it loosely coupled with each other. What is the standard types? I've discussed all this. It's not good for the large messages. It should be short messages. And also we have discussed this. Now we are good to move for the next topic, which is SNS. So let's just have a discussion with the SNS part again. Okay. And just keep looking for the web. If you have any doubt, feel free to ping it in the chat. Now comes SNS, and SNS talks about simple notification service. SNS is, again, it's a serverless service, which means you don't need to worry about the backend thing with this. All you need to do is you need to publish the messages. But in order to publish the messages, there are few things that you need to understand. Let's suppose I go to a store, and while I was doing my payment, they asked me for my mobile number. And I asked why you need my mobile number. So they come up that, ma'am, we have few offers with us, and we would like to send messages to you. We usually ask what sort of offers that you have. Then they talk about that sometimes we do vouchers related details is something that we need to share. Sometimes we need to share details like let's say maybe some you can say magazines. And sometimes we would like to share details related to a new product or new launches. These are the 3 categories that we have. And when you give your number to us, we will deliver all such kind of a messages to your email. Then I would say, you know what? I might not be interested for all, but I'm very much interested with the new launches. So what they will do, they will say, no worries, ma'am, we could do one thing. We could only subscribe you for the new launches thing. So they will add my email address to that new launches. So my email could be anything. Let's say Aayushi Spring at SpringPeople, right? This is my email ID sort of a thing. And on this email, I will start receiving messages only for the new launches, not for the magazine, not for the vouchers. But if there is anyone who's interested for all, their email ID could be written in all the different things. Now, from the SNS point of view, this voucher, this voucher, this magazine and the new launches comes under the category of topics. Topics, it's more like a categorization of your subscriber. Who is a subscriber? Aayushi at the rate Spring People is a subscriber. Right? Anyone else at the rate this is a subscriber for them. So topic is a group of a subscriber. Group of a subscriber which wants to receive relatable messages. Okay, if my server goes down, let's suppose if my server goes down and I would like to inform all the tester, or maybe I would like to inform all the developer about it. So what would I will do? I will create a topic. I will create a separate topic within my organization and name it as developer. And all the developers who are related to my project, I will add their names in this. When I say add their names, I meant I would add I will make them as a subscriber of this topic. And whenever any service fails, what I will do, all I need to do is I need to select a topic. If I select a developer, by default, all the people who are the part of this developer topic will start receiving messages for the same. Let's try to understand more about it in the console. So what I need to do is I need to search for SNS, simple notification service. Okay, it's loading for me. So here comes the SNS. Let's click on it. So here is my SNS. As stated, first thing that I need to do is I need to create a topic. That topic will have a user inside it. So let's just create a topic. I already have a topic like developer, some notification system admin. I have those topics with me. It's easy, just go to create topic. Again, the same thing comes in FIFO and standard. I've already explained it, so I'm not getting into this twice. This is more ever same to your SQS. Is the only thing is for the FIFO type, the only protocol to send a message which is available is SQS. But for the standard, there are multiple ways of sending your messages. It could be via different services, email, your SMS notification. You can send via anything. So I'll just go with the standard in this as well. Topic could be anything. Let's say regional manager. Let's say I wanted to send notification to all the regional managers which are there within my organization. What you wanted to display. So it could be notification. You can just give any name. Remember, every time when we get a messages from Airtel or Jio, what's written on the top? AIR, GIO. That's how they display their name, right? This is exactly the same. So notify your it could be your regional manager. So let's say RM. Oops, my bad. Hmm. Then just create a topic. Encryption and all is by default there, but I can just go ahead and create a topic. Now topic is there with me. Now what I need the email ID of all the people who are there within it, which means again it depends on the type of a protocol that you would like to opt for. In my case, I would like to go with the email, but from where that option comes in. So see, this is my regional manager, and in the regional manager, I need to create a subscription. So click on subscription. Now you need to pick a protocol. So I say that I would like to send the messages via email, or it could be SMS. I'll just go with email. Okay, what is the endpoint? What is the endpoint of your regional manager? So let's say I have multiple. Okay, let's just do one thing. This is my email ID. So I just opted for this and I create a subscription here. So first subscription is there. Now, if you could see, it is in the status of pending confirmation, which simply talks about that this user needs to confirm the messages on his in his mail in her mailbox. So what I will do is, let me just go to my. So if you all could see that I got this notification, I need to click on the confirm subscription, and I've confirmed my subscription. Now if I just go back to this to my dashboard and if I refresh it again, you all could see that it's being confirmed. Why? Because the user have confirmed it. Similarly, if you would like to add more to it, just keep on creating new subscription in the same manner. So you could have multiple regional managers within this category. Now, what I need to do once I have everything ready with me, once you have everything ready with you, all you need to do is you need to start sending messages. As of now, I only have one single user in it, but you could have hundred or thousands of it. That's another thing. What I will do, I will just go to publish message, give this a topic, anything, the name that you wanted to give. So I would say test, and this is the body. So 1, 2, 3. Now you must have realized this as well, that in case of queue, we cannot have long messages, but SNS is good for the long messages, but it's a different service for sending notification, whereas queue is used for the buffering one. Okay, and then simply publish the message. I send 1, 2, 3, and this is the message which I've sent. Go back to my mailbox. See, I got this. Notify, test, and here we are. I got the same messages. Notify RM was my subject that I've selected initially, and test is the subject which I've selected in this, and notify RM was a display name that I've selected while creating a topic. So I got this. This is my SNS. Now you also have noticed, compare SNS with SQS. I have discussed all this subscriber, how to send messages and all this. Now, one thing I would like to highlight is the difference between SNS and SQS. When I say SNS, your message will not persist. You will not retain a message. Whenever you have a message, you'll just push it to all the users or to all the subscribers. But in case of SQS, your message will retain in the queue until and unless someone reach out to the queue and pull the message out from it. This is the reason why SNS is a push service, which is simply the server is pushing the messages to the subscriber, whereas with the queue will hold the message and need someone to pull the message out from it. So this is the reason why SNS is your push service, whereas your queue is a pull service. In your SNS, we have publisher and subscriber. Simply means the publisher is the one who published the message and subscriber the one who have received the messages. In queue, the same thing we have, and we call it as a sender and receiver. Distribution is model is one to many, which means a single message could be delivered to multiple people at the same time. But with the queue, it's one-to-one relation, means a single data needs to be taken care by a single server. So this is a major difference that we have with your SNS and SQS. So what we have discussed what we have discussed is we talked about your SNS SQS, the difference that we have in SNS SQS. We have seen it in the demo that how to implement your SNS service and how to implement your SQS service. Now there is a small knowledge check that we would like to perform for all those. So if you could answer it in the chat, that would be great. This was more to test what we have seen so far. So which type of a queue provides at least once delivery? If you could type it in the chat, I could just wait for 5 seconds. If you are good, please just type it in the chat. Else, we will just move to the next. So which type of queue provides your at least once delivery? So there were two type of it. We have discussed it, the two type of a queue. And there is one which ensures that your message is delivered at least once, and then there is a one which ensures that the your message is delivered according to the or in the orderly manner. So there were two things. Okay, so to answer this, the standard with the FIFO, we ensure that when we are sending our messages, we are ensuring that the messages retains the order. It should be delivered in the orderly manner. Whereas with your standard, we ensure that at least it should be delivered once. Dead letter queue, long polling is entirely a different topic. It had nothing to do with the type of your queue. What is the advantage of long polling compared to short polling? Okay, so if you all are able to recall it, in the short polling, we instantly we keep on going to the queue server and we'll just keep on looking if a message is there, if a message is there, if a message is there. But in case of a log polling, we'll set or in between we'll have a cooling period, which means that my server will go for it, will look for a message in the queue. If it is there, that's great. It will pull it out. If it is not there, then it will wait for, let's say, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever time we have stated. And then after that second, it will go and look for another message in it. Okay, so again, when we are doing this, we are ensuring that the cost will be reduced with long polling. Why? Because we are not making that many API calls. We are not worrying about the empty response. We are not coming empty-handed. So this is the reason with the long polling, we can reduce the cost, but efficiency would be more in with your short polling. That's an advantage of a short polling. Last question for this. What is the feature of SNS? Now, I hope you all remember this again. SNS is used for the purpose of sending a notification. When we get this option of decoupling, it's more